Are we live? I think we are live. All right. Hello, everybody. Welcome. Welcome to LinkedIn Live. What an experience this will be, you guys. I'm going to keep this short and to the point. Let me introduce myself. If you have not met me before, my name is Susan Davis. I am a critical care nurse with a specialty in resuscitation education. I am also an authentic, courageous, powerful leader, nursing leader, and I stand for integrity, self-awareness, and performance. Those are my words. That is my contract. That is my contract with myself. I'm sharing those words with you right now today so you can get a better idea about who I am. And I'm also sharing them for myself to remind myself how I'm being while I'm here with you today. So let's get started. The topic that I have selected to share with you today is on empowering nurse leaders. So I'd like to begin with my thoughts on nurses being the masters of human connection. I feel right now, you guys, with the way the world is changing, with the AI, the evolution of AI and our digital planet over the next decade, connecting and being connected to humans, other humans, is going to be more important than ever before in the existence of humanity. So I'm proud to be a connector, and frankly, that's why I'm here with you. I want to connect with you. So that being said, a little bit of housekeeping. I'm going to be very respectful of your time. I'm super psyched that you took the time to stop in on visit with me today. So we're going to be 20 minutes or so of me chatting. If you'd like to connect with me further after this show, you're welcome to meet me at rescuern.com on my website. I created from today or for today, free 30-minute call schedule. So if there's a topic that comes up today that interests you, that you'd like to talk to me more about, whether it be my resuscitation experience, my personal leadership, my professional leadership, or anything that comes up during this call that we're on here today, this live, please reach out to me at rescuern.com. And to get an idea who's in the room, if you're currently a leader, put lead in the chat. And I would love to connect with you. So please reach out to me, and you can put questions in the comments, but I would like to try to, if you do have questions, we can answer them at the end, or I will go back and answer your questions in the comments later. And or of course, the best thing to do is just reach out and give me a call. I would really like to call with you. We can meet on video and really connect. Because if I can't help you, direct you, or mentor you, I can promise you someone in my network can. So that's what this is about for me today, is connecting. So let's get into this. I'm going to start this conversation about leadership, about energy. So energy is super important, and you should know that you are absolutely 100% responsible for the energy that you bring into a room. I think quite often we put on masks and we think we can tuck it in, but you guys, you wear your energy on your sleeve. It's your calling card. So me, when it comes to energy, I'm a big energy. I have to be conscientious of my energy everywhere I go. So as a nurse leader, as a personal leader in my personal life and my professional life, I have to be aware that I bring a big energy. It has pushed me forward in my life, and it's also hindered me in some cases, because you do have to be responsible for how people are perceiving that energy. And often I'm a 10 out of 10, and then maybe the situation doesn't call for that. So I want you to consider your personal energy while we get into this. And so kind of where I'm going to go, and you guys, again, respectful of your time, we are going to do about 20 minutes maybe. I'm going to kind of get in and get out, and then I'm going to look forward to you to connect with me after. So I'm going to talk about my personal nursing leadership journey, and then how that led to saving lives and empowering nurses. And then kind of the secret sauce that in my opinion, is the secret sauce to personal leadership. And then we're going to close it up and move on. And I look forward to connecting to you later. So my personal nursing journey, what does it look like? So I started my nursing career in a emergency trauma acute care hospital. It was the love of my life. I love the people there. I love the patients there. I love the medicine there. I love the level of autonomy there. For someone who is a 10 out of 10 kind of bomb of energy, it was the perfect environment for me. And I think that's why some people go towards critical care and some people don't. But for me, when that trauma ER, you guys, when it was really busy, bad word, busy. When we were packed and rocking and rolling, there was a certain hum about that place. And I found myself smiling and in my best critical thinking I've had in my career. I at a level like that, I get better. Not everybody does, and that's okay. But I loved it. So the problem that I had with that was that during that time frame, I had three horrible teenagers. And it was not easy being when you walk in the door, a trauma ER, the door's closed and that's it, you're on. So that I was a single mom at the time and these teenagers were horrible. In fact, two of my sons were traumas when I was a trauma nurse during those days. Yeah, one of them did an endo on his dirt bike and ended up having a perf bowel and needing a resection. And then the other one actually, extreme sports, he was a BMX, whatever, and he needed his entire skull fixed. So anyway, I digress, but everything happened there in that trauma room. It made me, also during that time, I want to share, by the way, that I had a goal of being a flight nurse. So I got my paramedic license. And one thing led to another. I had to really evaluate and pivot. And that's what we do as leaders. We pivot. When the situation isn't serving us and or perhaps preventing us from creating, and we get into, we stay in our box, our comfort zone, and or a state of survival, that's the opposite of creating, and you have to pivot. So that's what I'm hoping that you get from this today is let's pivot together. Let's pivot into the future together. So I had to look at my situation. I had kids, they were crazy. I needed to be there and I needed a schedule that allowed me to be there. So I was offered a position to become the director of corporate training. I ran a large American Heart Association program for nearly a decade, which was a perfect schedule for being a single mom at the time. And it also allowed me to progress along my educational journey, which by the way was my journey. It doesn't have to be yours. You don't have to be a dynamic leader personally or professionally. It doesn't have to equal education. It worked for me. And I'll tell you why. As a single mom, or one of a million reasons why, besides the fact that I liked it, I love to learn, it was mine. When you're a mom, and by the way, I got my bachelor's and then I went on to my master's, which I'm going to get to. But that time, that studying time was mine. And actually there's a rubric. There's a rubric. Check the boxes and you've got this. So when you transition out into the real world, there isn't a rubric, in your personal life, in your parenting life, in your professional life, there isn't a rubric often. And so I found a lot of security in my education. So anyway, in that program, we trained 150, 250 healthcare workers every single week in basic, advanced, and pediatric life support. And that was in the face-to-face environment. So if you do the math, that's like 60,000 healthcare professionals that myself and my team educated over those years. And so now you're going to start to see my resuscitation flow in my life. So as a trauma nurse, I would respond to codes in the inpatient environment. And then when we got there, it was like, what are we seeing here? Why is this kind of such a hot mess? Interesting. And then I went back to work like everybody else. No high fives, like that was the best thing I've ever seen. So anyway, I went back to work like everybody else. Now I have this high level view of some 60,000 people and what it looks like when we do education for something as important as resuscitation response in the hospital every 2 years in a classroom in the land far, far away from where the magic hits the fan. And we had to come to terms with the fact with meeting people where they are. I cannot say this enough about meeting people where they are. There's a theme in many of my meetings today, in all of my places that I work and communicate with people, is that this personal accountability. We have to meet people where they are, but people have to take personal responsibility, personal leadership, personal accountability for what they know, for what they don't know, for what they need to know to be proficient in what they say they can do. So needless to say, meeting people where we wanted them to be versus where they were or are in their skill set. That was a big gap. So here comes my resuscitation, flow again, if you will. We had to get people to where we could get them in the short period of time that we had them. Ultimately, the question was, no matter how good we were we seeing this come through at the bedside in the clinical setting? Were they saving lives and taking names? And the answer was no then. Frankly, I think it's still no now. So what had happened? Then at that point in time, I was contacted by my colleagues at the acute care hospital that I used to work with. And they said, Susan, we are getting request after request after request for mock code practice. Could you help us come up with something that would standardize this process? Day shift, night shift, we can't keep up. We need a standardized program. And I said, absolutely. At the time I was had gone back to my master's. By the way, my master's, the focus of my master's was as a clinical nurse leader. If you've not heard of the clinical nurse leader track, look it up. I loved it. It was perfect for me, right? I did not want to be a nurse practitioner. I didn't want to take patients. I didn't want that schedule. I didn't want that lifestyle. I did not want to give up my clinical knowledge and critical thinking and ability to teach and mentor. And I love the sciences. So check out Clinical Nurse Leader. I love my education. In fact, that would be another reason to contact me and get a 30-minute call if you have questions and needing mentoring in your educational journey, because I have done it all. And please don't forget, I was a single mom with 3 horrible kids and I was working full time. I digress. So anyway, during that time frame, I created codeprep, my signature program. I researched in-hospital cardiac arrest response all over the world. What were they doing? How much time were they spending? How much money were they spending? And I cut out all the jazz. I am a less is more, meat and potatoes kind of a person. And so I created codeprep, unit-based resuscitation drills, brief hands-on repetitive practice in their unit with their team and with their equipment. Boom, what a miracle. Brief hands-on practice and they got better. So guess what happened? They wanted it, and then they wanted it, and then they wanted it. And I often tell people, that I was code prepping in dark alleys. So directors and supervisors from all kinds of units and every specialty you can imagine were asking, and I was going and we were doing it. Then I had a little problem. And the problem was that now people outside of my system were asking for it, outside of my community were asking for it. And I was like, okay, give me just a minute. So here was the problem, right? Again, I don't have any business experience. We don't learn finance, business, whatever, marketing, sales, social media, none of that stuff was in my wheelhouse. And so the easier answer for me was to go back to school. And some people find that crazy, but it's true. Remember, I liked school. It was my mojo, and it kept me when I was in my mom journey with my kids. So I went back to school to get my doctor of nursing practice and to take codeprep to the next level. So in my doctor of nursing practice, for the leadership sake of the story, was a combined academic and healthcare executive track. Again, loved it. Served my purposes perfectly, allowed me to study codeprep again and how to implement at a systems level. So that makes me Dr. Susan Davis, and I am the creator and founder of codeprep. You've heard the story. So the next logical step was where I am today, and that is I am the resuscitation education manager for a healthcare system, and I get to do all things cardiac arrest. I get to do AHA, I get to do my drills, I get to do code data policy, everything that you could ever need or want. By the way, if you want to talk about that, you should get a hold of me, because we can do some consultation together on what you're doing in your neck of the woods. I mean, I know that mock code practice is the #1 most requested nursing intervention. Just there, period, it is. So we can chat about that. All right, so that leads me to the special sauce, right? That was my journey. That was what I wanted to share with you, my personal leadership journey, and how I, got my associates, then my bachelor's, my master's, my doctorate. I got my EMT and then my paramedic, my basic advanced and pediatric life support instructor. Now I'm an ASLS instructor, all those things. What is the special sauce, and what do you hear? And what do I mean by that? It means like, okay, so I did this and I did this and I did this and I did this. And that could be from a powerhouse energy source. That could sound, obnoxious. And I never meant it to be sound obnoxious. Remember, that was my path. That was what kept me going. But I recently decided to dig into this special sauce, personal leadership. And when I'm talking about personal leadership, I'm talking about stopping and doing the work on your personal awareness. You have to have a lot of personal awareness. Remember, we're responsible for that energy. We come into a room and we have on this mask of who we are or who we've become. But early this year, when I was getting into this entrepreneurial journey, I decided I would really sink into this personal awareness thing and do some emotional intelligence work. Really, I mean, outside of school, outside of my organization, this was something I did personally. And they asked me, tell me about yourself. And I told that same, journey basically that I just shared with you. And they said, wow, that's swell. But frankly, really nobody cares what you do. How were you being while you were doing it? And I'm sorry, what? Like, it stopped me in my tracks. I don't know how I was being. What do you mean? I didn't even know what they meant. This is as true as I can tell you. I have no idea what they meant. How was I being? Were you being authentic? Were you being your authentic, courageous, powerful self? Or were you masked up and were you being this doer person that was on a mission? And were you being too much energy? And do you look kind of like a know-it-all kind of jerk? I don't know. I had to really look, and I was looking for feedback. I am looking for your feedback. That's why I want to meet with you. I'll give you my feedback. It's fair play. So let's talk about that. Being versus doing. When you are doing, you're in that box of survival. When you're being, you're getting out of the box and you can create. And you can create with your teams, you can create with your family, you can create with your community, and you can create personally and professionally. So the special sauce is personal awareness equals the work. Personal awareness is the work times the management of that work. So it's the action piece. So in order to be the best that we can be personally in our personal leadership for ourselves, mind, body, soul, I'm certain there's an area you need to step it up, because we always do. All of us do. It's ongoing. That's the other beautiful thing of this. We are lifelong learners, and we need to step it up, and we need to communicate with each other. We need to connect so that this is not a one and done, guys. You have to be aware. I had to be aware of how I was being. So that is why I have that contract. That is why I shared that with you at the beginning. That is why I'm taking personal accountability for the outcomes that I'm after. And that self-management piece and getting out of my box. So I ask you, have you thought about doing versus being? And really think about how you're being. What do I mean? Are you being authentic? Are you being kind? Are you being genuine? Are you being happy? What are you being? No one wants to hear what you're doing. And I can tell you another thing no one wants to hear is how busy you are. I honestly want to outlaw the word busy. Busy? People don't want to hear what you're doing. They want to know, how are you being? And by the way, I speak the silent language, which means, honestly, your body language and that energy thing is so much bigger for me. So my point for being with you guys today was to reiterate the fact that I am an authentic, courageous, powerful leader, and I stand for integrity, self-awareness, and performance. Those are the words that keep me on track. Those are the words when the waves of life come and push me off and push me back in my box and say that surviving is better. It's easier. I'm here to tell you it's not. It's not. If you're not creating, you're not being. And we are human beings, not human doers. So how can I connect with you? How can I help you? Reach out to me and talk to me. Go to rescuern.com, leave some information for me in the comments and questions for me. I will reach out to you. If you'd like to get on a call, put call in the chat or in the comments, and I'll reach out to you. We are, as nurses, the masters of human connection. Connect with me. Connect with my community. I'm going to be doing a lot more of these things in all these areas. There's going to be so much to talk about as we move forward together in awareness of each other, of how we're being, of getting feedback, being open to feedback. It's not easy. I can promise you it's not easy. No one really likes feedback. But if you're not open to feedback, remember, as a leader, you are wearing your behavior everywhere you go, and we see you. I see you. I want you to see me. So my last question before we go is, If not now, when? If not now, when? Let's connect.